What's up, YouTube? It's Too Tall Shaw.
I am Wiz.
There you go. We just video had to stop, so this part two. Continue.
Yeah, so as I was saying at the end of part one, um, the facts that we do know, we know that George Zimmerman, profiled Trayvon, and you can argue the fact whether it was racial or not. But regardless of the fact is that he profiled Trayvon. He saw Trayvon in a hoodie and automatically assumed this young man was suspicious of something because he had a hood on. So he was profiled. No illegal activity was determined. He was profiled. He was assumed to be conducting some illegal activity. Two, that George Zimmerman called the police, and the dispatch then told him that police are on the way. Stay where you are. Don't get out of your car. We know that George Zimmerman got out of his car. Now, we don't know if he approached Trayvon or if Trayvon approached him, but we do know that Trayvon was aware that he was being followed. So, in my opinion, I believe that regardless of whether Trayvon jumped out of the bushes or whatever, to me, George Zimmerman initiated he initiated the altercation. Whatever altercation ensued, he initiated it because you took it upon yourself to follow someone. When you're not you're not an officer of any kind. You're not a security guard. You're not an armed guard. You're nobody's bodyguard. You're not a police officer. Nothing. So you took it upon yourself to take law enforcement into your own hands, and then the worst part is that we know that Trayvon was shot and killed by George Zimmerman. A life was taken, and I think the problem is that for these things to be known and for it to be allowed because of a certain set of laws or whatever, for a man to be able to take someone else's life when there's no apparent reason or there's no apparent evidence that his life was in imminent danger is a shame. And I think that's one problem with the stand your ground law in Florida or anywhere, is that one, you have a law that allows American citizens who are not trained. We're not talking about armed forces. We're not talking about off-duty law enforcement. We're talking about you allow the American public to have an excuse to use deadly force, and
Right.
that's an issue itself, because now you give anybody, I encourage anybody to go and take a look up the stand your ground laws in any state, and especially
It's
Florida.
crazy.
There, nowhere in the law does it state that if you there's no exception to the law if you initiated the altercation. There's no exception into the law, or there's no consideration into the law for the person on the other end of the violence, of the other end of the violent act, which normally in most cases when the stand your ground law comes into effect is because someone is in fact lost their life, and there's no consideration for the other person at all. It basically what the stand your ground law states is that if somebody breaks into your home, or if in fact you feel like your life is in danger at any point, there's not a proven imminent danger. If you feel, I can feel like my life is in danger in any point, but it gives you the ability to use deadly force against another human being based off of how you feel, and I don't. That in itself is wrong. So, that's something that also needs to be looked into as well.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at it, I don't know if anybody heard about the case where it was a young man that was shot, and he was sitting in his car at a gas station, and he had his music up loud, and the gentleman, whatever you want to call him, shot in the car, and he hit one of the boys, and he's dead because the guy said he felt threatened when they had their loud music. And with that being said, what constitutes as feeling threatened or feeling like you're in danger? What constitutes that? Like, okay, I heard loud music, so I assume that there's niggas in the car. Is that what what that person was saying?
How is it that where, at what point do you require the people to rely on uh, law enforcement at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Because how is it that you felt in danger when you initiated the contact? In the story we're talking about, the gas station, he decided to take it upon himself to ask a young man to turn his music down, and you know, words may have ensued, and I don't. I've gotten into word wars with people all the time
Yeah.
over different things. At the end of the day, you say what you have to say. You guys go separate ways, and you drive off. Especially he was with his wife. Like, okay, you cool. You ask somebody to turn the music down. He said a few words. Get in your car, and if you still feel like you know you were threatened, or if you felt like you were in some type of danger, go into the police station.
Yeah,
I mean, go
call
into
the
the gas
police.
station, call the police. Sit in your car, call the police. But no, he goes into his car, grabs his gun, shoots into the car. First of all, didn't even shoot at the young man. Shoots into the car and kills someone who he didn't even have an altercation with. The young man that ended up losing his life wasn't even the young man he got in an altercation with. And so, you know, it's possible that when this guy goes to trial, he can use the stand your ground law and possibly be proven not guilty.
Right.
And that's a terrible situation. That's a terrible situation. It's an awful law. The idea behind it, I sort of get, but it's right now it's too general. They need to put more restrictions on the law. There needs to be more verbiage added. It has to be tighter. It has to be stricter, because
Mm-hmm.
right now it's a general law. If you feel you're in danger, you can use deadly force, and danger can be described to every individual as something different.
All right. Before we get cut off again, uh, in regards to the Trayvon Martin case, where do you think race ties into it,
I'm not.
if it does?
I'm not sure if it tied into it initially. Um, I don't think. I'm not sure. I can't say that George Zimmerman profiled Trayvon because of race. Because one, it was a dark night, and Trayvon had a hood on, so we don't know if George Zimmerman was actually able to even tell Trayvon was black, um, or confirm that he was black. I think race did come into it later on, and rightfully so, it did, um, because it's an issue in America that that we ignore a lot of times. So, and that's something else that I want to talk about too. I guess it's gonna have to be in part 3. But yeah, that's something else that I want to talk about. Is about the issue of race in America, not just you know how it affects African Americans, but how it affects everybody.
That's a very good point, and I'm gonna stop it right here, and we'll see part 3.